So, as you know, the agenda for today's session is how to crack personal interview. And I am Jaimin Shah, the academic head for UG Management Studies at IMS. So, I'll be there with you for next 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes, and maybe longer if you want some, basically, various B schools, not only Christ, but if you're preparing for Symbiosis, you're preparing for IPMAT, if you're preparing for some other institutes, who conducts personal interview, the agenda for most of them remains the same. The parameter, the weightage, the percentage on on which they will judge you. That percentage will keep on changing. Otherwise, the bigger picture remains the same. So, what is a personal interview basically? Okay, and why does the schools conduct personal interview? Because they cannot select everyone, uh, and hence they first conduct the written test, which is a rejection tool. And once the pool is shorter, then they interact with students on a one-to-one basis to understand them better, and hence the personal interview becomes a selection tool and not a rejection tool. So basically, a personal interview will focus on your personality, okay, and nothing but they will judge on various parameters that will your communication skill, your confidence, your clarity of thoughts, and all those stuff. So it's basically how you are as a person. They would want to know in depth, and whether you are a right fit for their institute is what they are actually looking for. Okay. uh, yeah, and we need to make sure that during the conversation, it's a formal conversation. It shouldn't, we shouldn't cross that line of being a friend with them. See, there is difference between being friendly and being a friend. There's a very thin line. Okay, you need to understand that you have to be maybe slightly friendly when the discussion is going on, but at the back of your mind you need to keep sure that you are very formal. You are not using any day to day common English words like, yeah, yep, or something that we use in our WhatsApp language. Okay, so you need to be proper formal, and you need to make sure that how much ever they try to make you friendly, you are in your composure. That's very important. So basically, how is a personal interview evaluated? So as we discussed earlier, the most important parameter is the communication skill. Okay, they will look, not when we say communication skill, that does not mean your English. Okay, it's more than that. Okay, so how do you, pace your answer? How you can tone your communication. Okay, so all those things matter a lot, and not only the verbal communication, but also the body language. Okay, the gesture, the way you are talking. Okay, that also is considered while evaluating you. Obviously, when we are evaluating your personality, content is something that is definitely tested. It goes without saying. Okay, and if you have a good content to talk about yourself, it not only give you the confidence, but it also motivate the panelists to to question you more, and to spend more time with you, evaluate in a better way. And very important, a student generally say ki, sir, my fake kuch, I'll just make up stories, I'll cook some stories out of it. Guys, the interviewer who are going to take your interview are very seasoned player. They have been taking interviews since 10, 15 years, 20 years. Some of them, 25, 30 years, they are into this. Okay, so they can easily make out whether you are faking or you are a genuine. You're genuinely saying. The next thing is clarity of thought. Okay, it's basically clarity of thought comes into picture when the panelist asks you questions which are uh, with respect to the goals that you want to achieve in life. Where do you see yourself 5 years, 7 years down the line? Okay, what is a career goal? Okay, after doing this program, what is it that you want to pursue in your life? So those are basically questions related to your career goal, and that is where they judge, they check. You have a clarity. See, understand, guys, that if you if you don't have clarity about your answers, like where do you see 5 years, 7 years down the line, then yeah, why will I even consider you, right? I mean, I would want someone who is more serious, I would consider that student first, right? So it's as simple as that. And it comes your confidence. So, content, clarity of thought, communication. If you have content, clarity of thought, and decent communication, I am sure confidence will automatically come. Maybe initially for the first 30 seconds to 1 minute, you might be little nervous, but then automatically when you start, interacting, that confidence automatically will come, right? Uh, Nonetheless, what ideally we recommend student is, when you go through the mock PI, take as many mock PI as you can, so that the initial nervousness will, fizzle out over a period of time. That initial nervousness will fizzle out, and you will be more confident from the first second itself, from the, so that is something that you need to work on. Body language, you need to have a proper, so while taking, and for example, if you have an online interview or you have an offline interview, if you're an online interview, if you are sitting like this, okay, that's not something which is very much appreciated. You need to be straight, okay, you need to be straight, probably, while, if even if you go for an offline interview, you need to, be sitting with a proper erect posture, and you're not leaning forward too much, right? So you need to make sure that you are in the correct uh, frame when you are interacting with them. Not only that, but your, your hand gesture, your hand movement, and your the eye contact with them, everything goes hand in hand, basically. It should be it should not feel like we are disconnected. Okay, I mean, I am speaking something, but my hand movement are saying something else. That shouldn't happen, right? And then, very, very, very important. uh, See, always I recommend student that whenever you are interacting with anyone, let it be, interviewer or your friend or anyone, a smile on your face. Okay, a smile on your face always make the opposite person, uh, more positive about you, can vibe along with you. So that's always better. And that also help when you are smiling, that also help you even if you want to argue with an interviewer. So you should not be arguing very often, but then if you want to say that, you don't believe in what the interviewer wants to convey, and if you want to argue to an extent, a smile will always help you. That will always be taken positively and not other way around. Okay. And all this thing that we discuss, make sure that you ask for a feedback on this parameter when you take the mock interview. That's very important. I mean, taking mock interview is one thing, and then taking a feedback and working on the feedback is the another thing, and that's very crucial. You take one mock interview less, that's fine, but work on all the feedback that you have received so far. Okay. Now, power loss to, crack PI. Basically, treat an interview as a formal conversation. You are not sitting with your friend in a city or any, canteen or somewhere, right? You are not again with your teachers in your school or in your college, where you are simply discussing your project or something. It should be very formal. That's very important. And yeah, body language, very, very, very crucial. Do not be negative, and don't badmouth anyone. I have seen students, saying that my grades are low because my teacher was not great. Okay, मेरा school तो ऐसा ही है. My school was like that. My college was like that. So don't badmouth anything. Even if you are not happy with, your school, your college, or anything, maybe let it be your surrounding, your, it could be anything. Okay, so don't badmouth anything ever. Okay, do not badmouth about the company that you have been, whatever it is. Never ever do that. Okay. क्या बोलते हैं कि, you should always try to, for example, if I have to say that, uh, my grades are low, and I have to justify that. Okay, so take the blame on yourself. Okay, maybe in not very, very direct way, but then you can say that, uh, I was little too casual initially, and then, later on started understanding it, and by the time I realized it, I the time was too less for me to improve on, but I still gave my 100%, and this is best I could have, I could have, got it. So this is an example. I'm not saying this is how exactly you should say. This is an example. Okay, never ever see anything, because understand, if you are going to say anything negative about the teacher or your school or college that you studied, I, as a interviewer who is associated with the institute, I would always think that, अरे यार ये तो अपने स्कूल के बारे में कुछ बोल रहा है, I mean, he is bad mouthing about the school or teacher. When he comes to my college, he will do the same thing with me or my colleagues and my institution. So you will be the first one that would be rejected. So never ever ever do that. Very important, when you're facing an interview, you should make sure that it is not a question answer. Okay, it's not a question answer. It should glow, it should go with the flow, and it should be a conversation, a natural conversation. But make sure at the back of the mind, you know that you have to be formal. That's very important. Okay, at times what happens is that, because a natural conversation, student try to become a friend. Okay, and that formal conversation goes. So make sure that that doesn't happen, right? Now, for example, if I ask you, tell me something about yourself, and in that you would have mentioned that you like to play chess and your PD rating is 19, blah 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 blah, whatever. Okay, then expect a question on chess, maybe the next question, or maybe somewhere down the line. I'm not saying they'll always ask you. So let's say you mentioned chess, you mentioned dancing, you mentioned swimming, you mentioned, let's say, skating. You mentioned three, four hobbies. Expect one or two questions on the hobbies that you have listed. It could be anything. They could ask you how many grandmaster in India, how many grandmasters are there in India, who has won the highest number of gold medal in Olympics in swimming. Okay. I mean, just a random example, the random question that I ask you on what what I said, right? So that can be a question on that. Okay. They can ask you, I being an ardent chess lover, so I generally ask student based questions on openings and, traps and all those stuff. So it also depend upon the knowledge that the interviewer have. Okay. But the basic understanding, so you tell me any hobby, I'll be able to ask you at least one or two basic level question to judge, whether you are well read on that topic or not. So basic level understanding every interviewer will have. Very, very important, as I said, it's, you should give opportunity to the panelists to ask you questions, which you want to which you want to answer. So if you are not giving too much opportunity, or if you are not giving, too much scope to the interviewer to ask you questions on, then probably they will ask you questions based on current affairs, general knowledge, or academics, which you would want to distance a bit, right? So you need to understand that, if interviewer is asking you question on you, about your strength and weaknesses, about your hobbies, about your extracurricular co-curricular activities and everything, you are the safe zone, because that's about you. You know better than him. You know yourself better than him, right? So very less scope of getting into a one-to-one argument or a debate in that area. Very less scope of that. Okay, and to an extent, the interviewer will have to, agree with whatever you are saying, because he doesn't know you much. He just know you from whatever you're saying, or maybe Tamil should ask you to give an SOP. So just on basis of that, not otherwise, right? So make sure that you leave those, some points incomplete answer, not income, but you just don't stop in between. Just speak about couple of words, so that you know that, "Acha, if I say this word, the interviewer should ask me the next question," and you should be ready with an answer for that question. Okay, it's always important that, whenever you are answering something, or okay, whenever you're answering something, you should always create a story and deliver it. That's always better. Okay, uh, and the stories are something that, our mind is always, we'll always remember something that has been explained to us by taking an example or in the form of some stories, right? And I'm sure you would agree to me. Yeah, I'm sure you would have realized this over the period of years in your schools and your college days, that this is something that, if it is explained to you with the example of stories or some example, you understand it better and you remember it for a longer period of time. That's more important. Okay, why it is more important? Because that will have an impact on the interviewer. Yeah, मतलब that your one sentence or two line or one answer will be, will be remembered on interview. So it will be there in the back of his mind while he's, evaluating, while he's giving you the marks for your personal interview. Okay, very very crucial for the entire interview. You should follow the star method while giving the story or while giving your answers. Okay, now what is star? Is basically situation, a task in hand, action taken, and result achieved. So, for example, okay, if they ask me, what are your strengths? So I would say that, sir, my strength is multitasking and I'm a good team leader. I would like to explain you, both my strength basically. Okay, and then probably you can say that, while I was preparing for my 12th standard examination, at that time, blah blah event happened at my, place, and I have to take care. So, there was my brother's wedding, and I have to be there, when it comes to shopping, when it comes to planning, and it was just 3 weeks before my 12th board examination. Not only that, I was also preparing for various entrance exams. So I was, balancing, between my board exams, my entrance preparation, and my brother's wedding. And at the same time, since I have been, an ardent dance lover, I have been dancing since my age of 9. That's something which I did not want to let go because of other thing, and hence I also continued dancing without letting anything go out of my hand. And and it can be seen from my 12th standard result as well, that I have secured very good marks. And I mean, if by the time, if your results are out, probably you can quote that marks. If the results are not out, you can say that I'm expecting this much. Okay, so it's, so you explain the situation, what action did you took, and the result, overall result, that everything was good, and so you were able to handle with care. So always try to explain them, by taking these 4 points into account. Okay, so tell us something about yourself. That's a big question that they generally ask, and not only when you go for a physical interview, but otherwise wherever you go. So, I mean, how would anyone start? Tell me something about yourself. That's the most obvious. Like 98 out of 100 times, this question is always the first question. Okay. Now, what you should be focusing on? So, you should focus on your academics. You should focus on your hobbies, your achievements, and if you have done any internship, the chances are very bleak. But then, if you have done any internship, you should focus on some internships, extracurricular activities, co-curricular, some national level or a district level or MUNs. There are various things that you would have done. Someone would have completed Bharatnatyam till now. So there are various other things. Someone gets associated with, some Oxford University. There are some plays which happen at Oxford University, literature events. Some want some diploma in singing or a black belt or some level in karate, martial art, whatever, whatever you have done in your life that you feel that you are proud of it. Okay, you should definitely mention. Reading books can something be mentioned upon. Okay, and the first answer will always make, we always say that first impression is the last impression. Okay, so the first impression, the first answer will always have that impact throughout the interview. And the first answer will always lead to the at least next 2 3 questions. Okay, so make sure that your first answer is well articulated and well designed. My recommendation is the seventh question, the seventh question that I'm going to show you, out of which there are from 5 6 personal questions. You should write down on a piece of paper, get it evaluated by your mentor, and see if there are any counter question that your mentor would ask. Be prepared for the counter question. That's the best way to prepare for any interview. Yeah, so 3 fundamental questions to create the answer for this question include, you can include a story about yourself. For example, you can also mention something like, since my father, have been is a government servant, we have been shifting from one city to another city every 2.5 years. So I have I have associated with six different schools till now, and this six places, and I you can also bring up the culture factor into that various culture because you are part of various cities. You have friends staying, you are connected with them. So that is, you can mention if you want to, if that is something you have gone through. Even if you have changed two or three cities in your schooling years, yes, why not? You should mention that. Okay. Then you should mention educational background, your 10th marks. If 12th result is out, then that marks. Then if there are any achievements in your 12th, you should always go in the reverse order. The achievement, the 12th, 11th, 10th, ninth. Don't go beyond 8th. That will be too far, too far fetched. You should not mention your achievement which were 5 years, that you achieved 5 years back. Okay. So achievements could be anything: national level, state level, district level, city level, inter school, intra college, inter school, whatever, whatever you have, so everyone will not have a national district level. Someone will have some state level, or someone will have a school level. Absolutely fine. Okay. If there are some internship that you would have done, maybe work from home internship, or practical internship, anything that you have done, you should mention that. I would generally avoid that. Okay, I would generally avoid that. I would speak only and only if I don't have a lot more to say about myself. But at the same time, for example, if your sibling has studied in that particular college, okay, then probably you can mention about that. Okay, my sister or my brother did the same, this curriculum from this college, and but it's not compulsory. If you ask me, I would personally leave that apart because I have a lot more to say about myself, right? Yeah, so these are the things that you should cover. One more thing that is missing here is you should also mention about your hobbies. Do not mention your strength and weakness in this answer. Allow them to ask you, okay, tell me what are your strength, what are your weakness. Never mention your strength and weakness. This question is about you. They want to know you better. So what all you have done and what all you are capable of is something that they are asking. Okay. Do not get into the, if you have done some good project, do not get into explaining what that project was. Do not get into what work did you did in internship. Do not get into the nitty gritty of everything. Just give them the glimpse of everything, so that then next, the next question that they ask you, it could be on what you have discussed. I'm sure that you're mature enough not to mention your religion and caste, reservation and category, and all those stuff in your introduction. As I mentioned earlier, strength and weakness should be avoided. Your career goal should be avoided. I see myself 5 years down the line doing this should definitely be avoided. Okay. You should not do any, what do we say? Nowadays, it's a fashion on reality show. Do not tell any, misfortune that has happened with you and try to be, being emotional. Never ever try to do that in the first question itself. I mean, I would say never ever do that in the interview itself. Okay. If they somehow come to know if you have to speak about it, that's another other different story. Okay. The student generally asks me, sir, how long this answer should be. I would suggest that it should not be less than 45 seconds. Anywhere between 45 seconds to 90 seconds should be fine. Include around 4 to 5 various aspects. You can include academics, you can include extra co-curricular activities, you can improve your hobbies, you can include your internships, you can include your special achievements at school. Okay, so you can include some 3 to 5 different areas so that they have something to. And obviously, when you mention hobbies, you will not mention one hobby, you will mention two, three different hobbies, right? So they will have basically you are giving them a bouquet of flower and they can select whatever they want to, right? And as I said earlier as well, you always think of the counter question and be prepared for that answer. Okay. When you know that you are going to mention this three hobby, for example, if you mention Bharatnatyam, you have completed 9 years of Bharatnatyam and you have done various stage show, I can ask you, okay, name the 5 Bharatnatyam dancers from India, the recent one. You should be aware about it. Okay. So I gave example about chess and swimming earlier, right? So whatever you are saying, you should be ready with the counter for that. As simple as that. And When you know that these are one of the questions that they are going to come, write down on a paper, rehearse it, and get it evaluated through by your mentors. Tell me about your, sometimes they ask you, not very often, sometimes they ask you, tell me something about your family. Okay. So just try to speak about your immediate family and not the extended family. Even if you live in a joint family, you should not be speaking about your extended family. Okay. And uh, never get into what exactly your father is doing or anything. It's always, okay, my father is an engineer, he's working here, that's it. Not exactly what, he's a MD of this company and he's into this and this and that. Not required. A common mistake that students make is they say that, their mother is a housewife. Housewife is a wrong word, guys. It should be housemaker. You should know, you should not make this mistake in an interview at least. Okay. And with respect to your sibling, if they are studying in the school or they are elder to you, mention what they are doing. Don't go anything, don't get into any detail of that. Okay. Yeah. Now this is seven questions, seven bucket questions that we generally speak about. Okay. And when you know that these are the questions, okay, out of this seven question, maybe three or four question you will be tested upon. When you know that three or four question you are going to test it upon, make sure that you prepare the answer. Many times it happens, student know कि यार ये question तो आने ही वाला है, पता है आता ही, but still a student will not be prepared with the answer, and then while interviewing, they will fumble, they will think at that time, and then there is no structure to the given answer. So the first question. Tell me something about yourself. You should know yourself very well. When you say that, yeah. So if I ask you, what are your weakness? Students say, sir, weakness? Uh, sir, actually, I don't have any weakness. Come on, how can you don't have any weakness, guys? There has to be something. You cannot be so arrogant in saying that I don't have any weakness. Come on, you are a human being. Everyone has some or other weakness. But you need to make sure that you don't say a weakness which going to harm you or which is going to affect your candidature. Okay, so don't say that, sir, I am very poor at communication skill. Okay, I mean, that can be, they can understand that from your communication because you are communicating with them. Okay, probably you can say that, sir, I'm not good at time management. Absolutely fine. Okay, absolutely fine. You can say that, sir, I am I am not good with uh, making friends. I'm little, an introvert kind of a person. But when the moment you say, any weakness, you should have an action plan. You should have an action plan, like what are you doing to overcome a weakness. Very important is to know your weakness. Okay, but you don't know how to overcome the weakness is something stupid of you. So you should immediately say that, sir, however, these are my weakness. I am doing this thing to overcome my weakness. And you can say that, that is why, so for example, if you are an introvert, and that's why I want to do this program so that I will live in an hostel, I'll live on a campus and away from my family. I'll try to, I'll, I'm sure, I will open up and, I will become an extrovert over a period of 3 years or 5 years, whatever, however long the course is. Okay. So always mention your action plan. And if it is a strength, always mention where where did you felt that, you had this, this is one of your strength. Or give that example to them. Okay. But be prepared for at least two to three weaknesses and two to three strength. Very, very, very important. Hobbies. See, there is difference between a hobby and what you do in your leisure time. Both are not same. Hobby is different than what you do in your leisure time. Okay. You may not have your leisure time for 2 or 3 months, but hobby is something that you keep on pursuing on a regular basis. Okay. So dancing is my hobby. Stamp collection is my hobby. I read book in my leisure time, but that may not be your help. Reading books may be hobby for someone else, but may not be hobby for you. You may be reading books in your leisure time. So you need to understand the difference between both the questions. The next thing is with respect to academics. Okay, now as a given rule, you should be knowing everything with respect to what you are studying or what you have studied in the last 2 years. However, we know that our memory is not that great that we remember whatever we studied 6 months back or probably 1 year back, right? At least you should have two or three favorite subjects, and if I ask you anything from that, you should be able to answer. Okay. So, and for example, if you are doing commerce, if I ask you some basic questions accounting, you can not say that, sir, that's not something which I allow. I mean, you're doing commerce, guys, come on. Accounting is something that you should be aware of. Economics, for that matter. Okay. Not an okay, economics is something, or if you are a maths major, probably mathematics, statistics is something that you should be definitely knowing. So there are always some, if you're doing someone is doing BA or something, then psychology, philosophy, are the areas where someone should definitely be focusing on. So you should always have 2 to 3 favorite areas, so that if they keep on asking you question on something that you don't like, okay, you can always say them, sir, can you ask something on this from this area? But that can act as a double-edged sword. If they ask you something from a favorite area and if you're still not able to answer, then so there is no other way. The only thing that you can do is make puppy face and just move ahead. Yeah. But as a thumb rule, guys are in 12th standard, you should be aware of, you should be knowing what all the subjects that you have studied in your 12th standard. They can ask you anything. Work and internship, so a very very little chance of 11th 12th standard student would have gone into work experience or internship, but work to definitely not. Internship maybe yes. If you have done any internship, do some kind of research. What are the competitors, for, where you have done the internship? Who are the competitors? And what did you learn out of it? That's very important, because at this age, if you have done internship, then it is very important to evaluate what did you learn in those a month or 2 3 month internship that you did. Very important. Okay. Career goal, very very crucial here. Okay. Now if they ask you a question on, okay, uh where do you see 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line, then you start thinking and you say, sir, I want to become a manager in a company, in an MNC. Now that's a very vague answer. Manager can be any, so in my company I have a manager who take care of all the peons and housekeeping staff. Do you want to become that? Right. So you need to be very 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 clear about it. What do you want to? You may want to, okay, you may want to become that as well. Okay, nothing against that profile, but then you need to be clear. You can say that, sir, I want to get into financial markets, and hence after completing my BBA program, I would want to take up a job where I am learning the practical experience of financial markets. I'll gain an experience of 2 years, and then I wish to do my MBA in this field, from probably from India or abroad, whatever you want to say, you can say that. So I mean, MBA again, not compulsion, So, but you should have a fair bit of understanding, fair bit of idea, ki what do you want to do in next 5 to 7 years. At least after graduating from this program, 2 3 years down the line, where do you see yourself? What do you want to do? Is very 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 important. You should have that clarity. Okay. Otherwise, the next question that I ask student is, "Ki, acha, if you don't know what you want to do, then why are you applying for this program?" See, because applying for this program should connect the dot with your future goal. You cannot say कि सर कोई option नहीं था सर, तो ये मिल रहा था तो ले लिया. You cannot say that, right? You should connect the dot. See, however, in many cases that would be the case. You will not get first, second, third rank college and the fourth rank. What I'm trying to say is, you cannot say that in an interview. So you'll have to connect the dots. Okay, I want to see. I see myself here. Okay, I see myself here 5 years down the line, and right now I'm here. How am I connect? How am I going to connect this, and how this course will help me in connecting the dot from here to here. Okay, that's very crucial. Then extracurricular activities and hobbies we discussed earlier as well. Whatever you have done in your life, okay, whatever you have done in your life, you should be well versed about that. Not only whatever you have done, but with respect to that area. As I asked, Someone tell me, I like swimming, I follow swimming, and then I ask, I ask him, have you heard about Michael Phelps? 9 out of 10 time people will say yes. One student would not know who is Michael Phelps. If I ask, who has bagged the highest medal in a single Olympic, 6 out of 10 would know, the four would not know. So there are some obvious questions about the sports or the activity that you are doing. You should be, knowing that. It is expected. For example, if you play a guitar, if I ask you on what phenomena guitar works, and if you don't know, it works on a phenomena of resonance. Yeah, that's something very basic. That you learn. The first thing that you learn, that the resonance is a phenomena that because of which the sound is created, resonance and a combination of vibration. Okay. Don't say that your hobby is watching Bollywood movies, and that should be, okay, that might be your hobby, but that should not be said in a formal interview. As simple as that. Okay. Listening to music, watching Amazon Prime, Netflix, avoid all those things. That is what I would. Current affairs question. Yeah. So a lot of B school also test your GK in the aptitude test, right? At the same time, they also test your current affair knowledge. Not only so in aptitude test they take, it's an MCQ exam, but when they are question interviewing you, they basically want to know your views on it, and not something which is already available in the print media. Okay, they want to know your views, and your views cannot be any bullshit. It cannot be any random thing. Okay, it has to be to the point. It has to be logical. Okay, and if you don't know, please say that, sir, I don't, ma'am, I don't. It is good to say that you don't know, rather than saying anything, any nonsense. It's always better. Yeah, when it comes to current affairs, I remember last year in Symbiosis and Christ interview, uh, there were students who were asked a very basic question with respect to the portfolios of ministers, rail minister, IT, infrastructure, roadways, foreign minister, governor of your state, chief minister सबको पता होता है, governor नहीं पता होता. Okay, governor, vice president, president पता होता है, vice president not everyone will be knowing. So the portfolios, in SET, in Symbiosis and Christ, the portfolios were asked. So if you're going there, I'm not sure they'll ask you this year, but then you should be knowing it. You should be knowing it, and if you don't know that, then it creates a bad impression. And then they sometimes ask you very unexpected random questions. Sometimes they give you a hypothetical situation. If this happened, then how would you react? Okay. Now these questions are basically to remove that shield which is there in front of you. Or at times, it is sometimes happens that uh, you are discussing on swimming. Okay, there's a discussion going on swimming, and the second panelist in between will ask you, okay, so are you aware about the economic crisis in Sri Lanka and Pakistan? Nothing related to swimming, but he will simply jump in, and I will ask you a question, just to break, just to remove that shield that you are wearing in an interview, because only then they will able to evaluate you in better way, right? So that happens. You need to maintain your composure. You need to maintain your calm. If there are some unexpected question, random question, take 2 seconds, 3 seconds time, think about it, and then answer. Don't answer in a hurry. Okay, do not answer in a hurry. Very important. What is your role module? The next question. Okay. Now I do not have any role model. A very stupid answer. Okay, it doesn't not accepted. Not accepted at all. Okay, don't tell them that some very controversial person is my role model. Never. For example, it's written here, Hitler is my role model. Okay, uh, any politician, religious leader, avoid them. Maybe a politician or religious leader, maybe a role model, but don't say that in an interview, because, for example, if I say that Narendra Modi is my role model, and the person who is interviewing me is an anti-BJP, gaya na, game gaya. I mean, saying that, avoid. Avoid. Okay? Don't say that, my family member, my grandfather, he started when he came to Mumbai, he had hardly the 10 penny in his pocket, and वो धीरूभाई अंबानी का स्टोरी चालू हो जाएगा. right? So don't give all those, role model family member, definitely not, because the moment you say family member, my 90% of my my energy to ask you question, the next question, consequent question on role model is allowed. I mean, you did not, because family member, you will tell me anything, and I'll have to believe you because I don't know, right? So at least you should have one role model, and you need to make sure that you are well read about that person, that personality. You can have two or three role model also, that's absolutely fine. Okay, but not having any role model is not accepted. It can be a business tycoon, or maybe someone from the field of music, or someone from arts, maybe from banking industry. You know you should be liking couple of qualities of that role model. Okay, and you are trying to imbibe those qualities in you. And as I said, you can have two three role models also, absolutely fine. Okay, absolutely fine. Okay, very important. Let's say, for example, if you are going to tell me, my role model is Sachin Tendulkar, read articles on Sachin Tendulkar, read books, autobiographies available. APJ Abdul Kalam, read the autobiography. If it is MS Dhoni, or if it is Narayan Murthy, if it is Shiv Nadar, whoever it is, read about them to understand them better. That will help you to answer the question, if there are any which are going to follow. What do you do in your leisure time? Okay, now, I mean, you can go on and on and on and on, in this question. You can, you can keep on saying, everything under the roof, right? But let us understand why this question is asked. Why do they ask you? Matlab, in a interview where you are going to do a BBA or an MBA, they're asking, what do you do in your leisure time? Why do they ask you this question? Okay, because they want you to, because they want to understand you as a person. Okay, apart from your academics and apart from your hobbies, what are those other things that you are indulged in? Okay, uh, maybe there would be some conversation after you say this, some detailing about it. Okay, always make sure, as I said, see, interview is like, बोलते ना, uh, it's like, you have to have that shield in front of you. You cannot say everything about your lifestyle, to them. There's no need to do that. Okay, for example, if you have indulged in some bad habit, you will not say, okay, sir, I am a chain smoker, I need some change. I need to smoke a cigarette after every hour or something. You won't go and say that, right? uh, you know sir, I'm a party animal. I like to party every weekend. All those things. There are a lot of negative things. There, I'm sure there will be some negative things about everyone. Do not go and tell them everything. Okay, maybe, what do you do in your leisure time? Prepare an answer. कि अच्छा क्या बोलना है if they ask you this question. Okay, these are few things that you can keep on saying about your leisure time. A volunteering activity, maybe going and participating with an NGO, reading books हो गया, performing arts, or literary arts, books reading, maybe going for a cycling, maybe a 5 kilometer, you're preparing for a half marathon, or maybe singing, some playing some instrument, you're learning some foreign language, you know uh, and about the we discussed earlier, right? Hobby is different from what you do in your leisure time. If you say that I do not really have a hobby, that portray a negative thing about you. So never ever do that. Okay, what is your hobby? So I chit chat with my friend, I hang out with my friend. No, absolutely not. Surfing on internet, watching television, watching Netflix. This cannot be your hobbies, guys. Understand that. Yeah. So what do you do in your leisure time? We discussed. Now these are some questions that you should definitely be preparing for. Okay, tell me something about yourself. why why Christ University, why Symbiosis, why IPM, why Rohtak, why Indore, whatever it is, why this college is very necessary, very, very, very important. Who is your role model? What do you do in your leisure time? What are your hobbies? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are three failures and achievements? What are your career goals? Why the said subject? So yeah, why do you like these two three subjects basically? Okay, some theory, some phenomena that you learned in your 12th standard, that you know and very important, if you're going to stay in hostel, will you be able to stay away from your family for 3 years, for 5 years? This is one question that I have seen 3 or 4 students out of 10 getting asked. Okay, so be prepared for that. I think I will end this session. Thank you everyone. Bye bye. All the best for your interviews, and if you need any help, anything, any guidance, get in touch with me. Yeah.